So here we are at the European Open Digital Learning Week, organized by Eden. And Eden is really proud to host this week. As I have mentioned, it is already eighth year in a row. And this whole week, starting from yesterday, Monday, all through till Friday, we are having webinars every day. And there are days when we have 2 webinars in a day, like it was yesterday. Today we are having just 1 webinar. I think Thursday will be again 2 webinars. So keep connected and find out everything that is being shared. So this event is being organized in partnership with the Coimbra Group, Education Innovation and Doctoral Studies Working Groups. Also, the United States Distance Learning Association, USDLA, who is holding its National Distance Learning Week, NDLW, and Flexible Learning Association of New Zealand, FLANZ. Also, Open and Distance Learning Association of Australia, who joined efforts to offer the Asia Pacific Online and Distance Education Week. So, as you can see, this is a quite global event held in partnership with the major associations around the world in different corners of the world. So this week will be a good time to discuss and exchange experiences, examples of good practice in open, online, and distance education. Also to get new ideas and network focus will particularly be gained experiences and new models and approaches in education. During European Open Distance Learning Week, you will have access to daily online webinars, also panel sessions of expert scholars and practitioners who will present the best practices and expertise in online and distance education, as well as discuss with the audience on the challenges in shaping the future of education and how we can more fully harness the potential of new models of online and distance learning. I'm trying to change the slides. As you can see, the events, the first 2 were already held on Monday. Today we are having a webinar on transparent assessment of online learning leading to micro-credentials. On Wednesday, there's an event on digital transformation in higher education. How is it affecting teaching and learning activities? An analysis from different world regions. Then on Thursday, where is the Thursday slide? It was lost. Anyways, on Thursday, we are having 2 events and they are also presented on Eden website alongside with the Friday events. Now I'm also sharing you the next coming Eden event that will be organized face-to-face on site in Barcelona. It will be hosted by Open University of Catalonia. You can scan the QR code for more information in case you find this event is appealing to you and you are minded on having one more travel this year. It will be 3 days, November 29th, 30th, and then December the 1st. A nice end of the week training for leaders in education, for managers, for those who are curating digital transformation in their education establishment. And this is going to be a hands-on training with case studies shared from 3 different universities in Europe. We have speakers coming from different countries for that. So it's going to be a nice hands-on training event. The host, the venue, Open University of Catalonia itself is a venue worth visiting, as it is one of the first open universities, and it is a strong institution worth visiting. And not to mention, of course, Barcelona itself, which is a destination in all times of the year. Also for our Eden family and those who follow Eden, also mark in your calendar the next annual conference, Eden Annual Conference, that this year will be in Graz, in Austria, in Graz University, in a wonderful old city of Austria. And you may already note for yourself the dates, June 16, 18. We are planning to open the call for papers in the early December. The QR code that is presented here will be the link for the conference all over the preparation and then the event time. We will be building and adding information for that. So if you scan the code, you will have this information about the conference built up. And of course, Eden is a proud partner in one of the major European Union flagship initiatives, European Digital Education Hub, which is offering mentoring, by the way, free of charge, and clinics if you want to get consultations and mentoring on different digital education topics. We invite you to join the hub and access and apply for mentorship for the prominent European experts in digital education. We will map the most convenient expert for you, for your topic, for your question, and you can receive counseling on that. And we are having monthly knowledge building activities that are being held by Eden on European Digital Education Hub. Again, use the QR code for the next event, which is very close, November 14th. The topic on empowerment of teachers and critical vision on digital competences. The event will explore real case examples of the diverse digital competences for teachers and how such practices can empower students' digital skills. It will be moderated by Teresa Romeo and Montse Guitert from Open University of Catalonia. And you can see the speakers that are going to be present then. And the registration is already open again through this link. We also have scheduled the next hub event, which will be in the early December, the 4th of December, on the topic of evidence-based approach for technology use in early education. Eden Digital Education Hub is trying to cover different sectors of education, and the December event is dedicated to early education. So the moderator will be Natalia Kutsirkova from University of Stavanger and the Open University. And you can see the presenters that are invited to that event. So after long introductions, maybe it's already high time for us to go into the topic of today's webinar. And I'm going to invite Airina Volungevičiené, who is going to give a snapshot of the project, which is called DigiProf, and what the project has achieved. And also, I have to mention that Airina is the one who was among those who started this week 8 years ago. So probably this is really, really nice to have her on this webinar, starting to present the project that we have today as a topic. Please.
Dear colleagues, dear participants of the session, thank you very much, Elena, also for the kind introduction. Yes, it's a pleasure that this week started in 2016 continues. And I see also many people from participants that joined us today who were also present here yesterday. So it's very nice to see that you continue with us and that our events make interest for you, and I hope very much that also practical applicability for your professional area wherever you are. And even if sometimes they are not exactly what you may apply today or tomorrow, the things that we share make us develop our ideas together, make us collaborate, get to know each other better. And that is, I think, the main purpose of our network, European Distance and E-Learning Network in Europe. And I think the spirit of networking and collaboration and openness to it continues with us. So today I would like to introduce to you the proposals for the challenges that actually were raised by higher education institutions during pandemic times. I see already that the chat is going on. I'm sharing my screen now, so I will not follow chat at the moment, but I will come back to it once I stop sharing after my presentation to pick up your comments and questions if you have. So please feel free to post them in the chat. So the challenge, the problem was one of the two major problems identified in 2020, 2021, which was related to digital assessment practices in online learning, because everyone moved online, and not even in a blended or a hybrid mode, but completely online. And we witnessed two major challenges at that time. One is how to design digital assessment. And the second one was how to enhance and empower our students, our learners, and how to continue working with them. We did not even imagine at that moment that we will be able to achieve during the project some of the proposals that go hand in hand or step by step with today's innovations, such as micro-credentialization. But we were quite willing to try to give a try to this theme. So you will see that transparent digital assessment strategies for online learning, which are designed by digitally competent professors, may lead to successful processes of digital micro-credentialization. And I will mention to you that the outcomes that some of them we will be presenting in more detail today. Some of them will be left a little bit out of the scope of this session, but you will have full access to them, and maybe even in your national languages. So you are able to adapt them to other levels of education, vocational education and training, adult learning, and maybe even schools. So the aim of DigiProf project was to support higher education teachers, but also higher education institutions. And we focused specifically on the areas that were related with designing and implementation of transparent assessment for online learning and recognition of learning outcomes by proposing methodology, guidelines, practical tools, and training material to develop their digital competencies. And I would like to pay your attention that we are talking about both higher education institution digital competence and then teachers within higher education and their digital competences. And we referred to two models existing in Europe since 2015 and 2017, which was, they were Digicom.org and Digicom.edu. So further on, we were more focused on digitally competent teachers, digital competences, and the area of assessment, the competences area number 4. Because actually, if we were able to address digitally competent higher education institution, we would require more time, more funding, and we would have to work with virtual learning environment where digitally competent teachers would be able to use all the tools that they need for designing transparent digital assessment strategy. Because this is interrelated. If I am a digitally competent professor, I need also the environment which meets my needs. And I need the tools that work for me as a teacher. So that was out of the scope of DigiProf project, so we left it a little bit aside. And we focused only on one competence area, one very, very challenging competence area, digital competence of assessment. Why transparent? We also, I believe, the participants in this room will witness as well that the majority of challenges were related with the transparency of assessment in terms of grades, criteria, and other things. At the same time, the challenges for the teachers were to identify and to transform, to really implement transformation of digital assessment pedagogy or didactics, so that it is not just copied and pasted from what we do in the classrooms. So as you see, we have 3 competences under assessment competence category, which implies designing assessment strategy, then receiving data about evidence and analyzing evidence, and providing feedback and planning. So we managed to work with all 3 of those. And we added one more competence, which is micro-credentialization, digital credentials, and it is a little bit not yet visible in European framework of digitally competent educator. So these are our promises described in terms of project objectives when that we prepare methodological guidelines, tools, and training materials for higher education teachers as reference toolkit. Then we develop digital assessment competences of higher education teachers. We also promised to prepare the guidelines for higher education institutions to implement transparent assessment of learning outcomes for online and blended learning. We added blended, and leading to digital and micro credentials, which is the new keyword here. And you will see why they are linked together in the presentations later today. Rimanté and Giedré are already nervous about how to present it in the best way so that everybody understands it. But they're very, very good at that. And the final promise was to design online and blended learning curricula for virtual and blended cooperation of institutions, higher education institutions, embedding everything that we apply in previously mentioned outputs. The target group and the consortium, as I mentioned, is implies higher education institutions, teachers, researchers. Also, I'm sorry for the word e-learning, but that comes from application. That was one of the keywords still in Erasmus papers. I don't know if we call e-learning as a process any longer, but also networks, national, international organizations. So we had developed the consortium that consists of the Open University of Catalonia, Aveiro University, Silesian University, Dual Hochschule Baden-Württemberg, and DHBW, we call them, and Eden Digital Learning Europe. And we, as Vytautas Magnus University, we coordinate this project. So we expect actually, and we already feel this impact, and we try to describe it. And moreover, we already have witnesses from students and teachers who piloted first micro credentials that were issued already, that teachers, first of all, improve their digital competencies after using the training material. So you will see everybody can access, and I will show you in the next slide, all 3 types of training material developed for teachers in higher education. So feel free to use it, to register and access it in the languages that is available. So it is useful to develop teacher digital competencies in the areas of assessment, student engagement, and micro-credentialization. Higher education institutions, we promise that they will improve digital competencies as organizations by improving quality online studies, preparing micro-credentialization, and establishing interinstitutional collaboration. So with the institutional interinstitutional collaboration, we're still in process because bachelor study programs are still under development, but we have already the guidelines and they are available, and also we will invite you for consultation. So the competence implies knowledge, skills, and values and attitudes. So by going through the documents, through the handbook that is through the guidelines, sorry, that are prepared, organizations already develop their competence and understanding in this field. We are sure that students will benefit from better quality learning design when teachers have new competences and they improve learning design, they transform it for online and blended learning. And it happens, as I mentioned to you, they are very happy with the digital credentials issued. And also we have one associate partner that I didn't mention, which is the Quality Assurance Agency in Lithuania. As an associate partner, we constantly consult with them, and they also participate in reviewing and disseminating information about new processes, and we are very happy about this because quality assurance agencies also see clear examples on how transparent assessment strategies in higher education institutions can be prepared for recognition by other stakeholders through digital and micro credentials. So now is the right time for you. We will not be demonstrating to you each training material during this event. It would take too long. We will focus from now on this hot topic of how assessment strategy is related with digital micro-credentialization of learning. So on training material number 3 that you see, but if you click on the link, I'm not sure it is clickable on the slide that you see, but you will see it in the chat, I'm sure. You will see that we have 3 kits for training material in several consortium or partner languages: English, German, Lithuanian, Catalonian, Portuguese, and Polish. So you can choose the one that is closest for your target group and understanding. You can also translate this material into your language or adapt it to a different sector, but we need to receive your request for this, and we will provide you with this version so that you can use it and adapt it for your purposes. So it's CC licensed output and the Erasmus project, and we hope that you will use it for your teacher training. So in the first training material, you will find step-by-step guidance on how to design transparent assessment strategy for online learning in higher education. The second training material will guide your teachers or yourselves on how to monitor, support, and engage students based on evidence generated by digital technologies, actually learning analytics in virtual learning environments, but of course, the learning design should be prepared for that purpose. This training material is based on our previous research, and we used the concept of application of learning analytics as a metacognitive tool. And we have some recommendations in this training material, but also we have reference to research where you can also see step-by-step guidelines for teachers. And I will not introduce the third training material because it will be introduced to you here in this event. And I see I'm already taking too much time, so I will skip some things. So when you open, when you register, you log in and you open to each training material, you will see that it is in Moodle. So don't hesitate to contact us if you want not access to this training material, because access is available. But if you really want to have a copy of this material for your institution to be uploaded, of course, with all affiliation that is for Erasmus DigiProf project, but you can translate it if you want and use it for your purposes. You will be introduced during this webinar to one of the major documents, which is the guidelines for institutions to implement transparent assessment, but also to lead to digital and micro credentials. So this is already focused not on the teacher competences, but on the institutional digital competences. So how higher education institutions should be competent and should read these guidelines. You will see it from institutional perspectives. And I will just mention, this is my last slide, that we are now working on interinstitutional collaboration model that allows universities in the consortium to redesign bachelor, but at the moment also master study courses that embed and integrate everything that goes into the training from the training materials. So transparent assessment strategy for online learning leading to micro-credentialization. And we chose this, the collaboration of institutions under 2 umbrella topics that are very, very interesting. One is education for sustainable development. So different subjects are working and updating their courses, where students and teachers collaborate in specific subject areas, but with a link to education for sustainable development theme. And another theme, umbrella topic, is AI in higher education, evidently unavoidable topic for all of us today and in the nearest future. Thank you very much for your attention. I apologize for taking, I think, a little bit longer than expected.
Thank you, Airina. Thank you, Airina. We have her time dedicated to this, so this is all fine. And I'm happy to invite Rimanté and Giedré Tamoliūné to present the third course that is about transparent assessment leading to micro-credentials. Apparently an important and hot topic in education. Just to remind you, I have shared the link to the materials in chat. All the courses are free and available. Of course, you do need simple registration to access these, but they are available in the languages that Airina was presenting for quite a long time, the slide with the language versions. So you may use these. And as mentioned, if you are interested into translating them into your languages, you are welcome to contact us. So ladies, please continue with the third course on micro-credentialization and assessment related to that.
Okay, thank you, Elena. Hello, everyone. So I'm going to continue today's session by giving you a short overview of the training material titled Ensuring Digital and Micro-Credentialization of Learning as a part of transparent assessment for recognition of learning outcomes. As Airina already mentioned, it was developed by DigiProf project experts from Eden and EODLW Heilbronn. Okay. So all the training all the training materials are available in 6 languages, as was mentioned, in English, German, Lithuanian, Catalan, Portuguese, and Polish. And if you scan this QR code, if you haven't checked it yet or didn't see the website link before, you can do it now. And then you will be taken, redirected to the Moodle environment and Moodle platform where you can access the training material. You can audit the course without registration and you will see the whole content. But if you want to attempt the quiz, to take the quiz or to check self-reflective questions or share your insights on the forums, you will have to register. On the top right, you will see the registration form where you can just log in, and it is very quick and simple, but you will have free access then, and you can be more actively involved in the training material itself. So the overall aim of this training material is to equip and empower teachers and educators to apply micro-credentials to their portfolios of learning units. And this training material provides functional guidelines and suggestions on how teachers can design a course according to the idea of validated small learning units that would be eligible for recognition. As you can see, the training material consists of an introductory part where the concept and outlook of the topic are presented, and as well 3 units. It is what is a micro-credential, micro-credential implementation and European Union model, and the last one is how to incorporate data from virtual learning environment, including transparent assessment and micro-credentials. So I'll give you a short overview of the first 2 units. So the first unit defines the conceptual understanding of a micro-credential. It is what a micro-credential is or should be. While studying or auditing the following 2 subunits, you will expand your knowledge about the background, definition, and the key features of micro-credentials. Being aware that in some cases it is considered that a micro-credential is a short training program. For us, it is important to know that in this project, we see a micro-credential that it is a digital certificate that contains the metadata of digital micro-credential as defined in the European Commission documents. It is stated that a micro-credential means the record of the learning outcomes that Elena has acquired following a small volume of learning. And these learning outcomes have been assessed against transparent and clearly defined criteria. And in the training material 1, it is really in-depth developed topic on the assessment strategies, how criteria should be defined. So it is worth auditing all courses. So when we talk about the recognition of digital certificates, transparent assessment plays a crucial role. It is obvious that the level of grading related to the achievements has to be delineated when designing a micro-credential. Also, for setting up a micro-credential, it is very important, it is essential to indicate the link between learning outcomes, assessment, and grading. So these are some of the ideas that Unit 1 discusses and presents. And at the end of the unit, as you can see in the slide, you can find the self-reflective questions that will help you check your understanding of the topic. Following the conceptual background presented in Unit 1, the second unit focuses on the implementation of micro-credentials and European Union data model. Within the process of implementation of micro-credential, one of the critical issues is their recognition for further study or employment by government authorities, higher education institutions, and employers. Quality of learning content and assessment is a determining factor. Without recognition, micro-credentials cannot be integrated, unfortunately, not unfortunately, but without recognition, they cannot be integrated into national and international learning ecosystems. So the second unit explores these ideas by observing the quality aspects of micro-credentials and different European digital credential environments like European digital credentials infrastructure that allows already educators to build digital credentials. And so the last unit, if you see it, subunit refers to the importance of assessment transparency. And the last unit, the last third unit, is way more practical and provides already functional guidelines for educators on how to incorporate data from a virtual learning environment into a micro-credential. It is a step-by-step kind of guide helping educators to do that and to understand how all this alignment of transparent assessment and leading to micro-credential is happening. And here I want to invite my colleague Rimanté, who is going to share these steps that teachers need to take and follow so that assessment would lead to issuing of digital micro-credentials. So thank you.
Thank you, Giedré. Hello, everyone. So as you see, the third unit is how to incorporate data from virtual learning environment, including transparent assessment and the micro-credentials. This unit consists of 2 subunits. And the first is how to prepare a virtual learning environment for micro-credentials. And the second one is how to create micro-credentials on a course level in virtual learning environment. And as the other 2 units, this unit also consists of self-reflective questions as well. So it is important to note that micro-credential elements created in virtual learning environment must be in line with the micro-credential elements set out in European Commission documents. So these elements will be shown in digital micro-credential certificates as well. Digital micro-credential collects metadata from a virtual learning environment and transfers this data into digital micro-credential. So the more of elements are generated by the platform and automatically transferred to micro-credential, the more metadata digital micro-credential has. One of the main documents used in planning of micro-credential fields is the course description. The course description shall contain the data necessary for the issue of micro-credential. The course description shall contain all the basic information about the course, its assessment, and the lecturers who teach it. Also, course description that meets the requirements for micro-credential is prepared according to the institution requirements. And the virtual learning environment is prepared by incorporating the necessary micro-credential elements in line with European Commission documents. So, system administrator who prepares a virtual learning environment has to add additional fields such as identification of learner, title of micro-credential, data of issuing, learning outcomes, type of assessment, and other fields. This is done by system administrator, and after this, when the virtual learning environment is prepared, system administrator can prepare a digital micro-credential certificate template based on the criteria provided. The teacher prepares the course in Moodle environment in our case, and fills the required fields according to course description, which is aligned with micro-credentials. For example, mode of study, form of study, volume of learning, and other fields that meet micro-credential requirements, teacher enters to virtual learning environment and fills these fields. Teacher, of course, has to create assignments and set the grades. Learning outcomes has to be entered by teacher as well. And learning outcomes and grades must be assigned to the activities made. To issue a micro-credential, teacher creates a certificate activity and sets this activity settings. Thus, teacher has to select learning outcomes that students have to achieve. These outcomes will lead to issuing micro-credential. And teacher has to set restrictions on the criteria and activity completion rules that must be met in order to the student, in order for student to be eligible on the for the micro-credential. And after everything is done, upon completion of the activity, micro-credential certificate will be issued. If learner meets the criteria and complete the activities, he or she receives an email with a link where to collect micro-credential. How the digital micro-credential template looks like depends on the institution decision. In our case, the micro-credential data fields are provided in this template. You see on the right side of your screen. The information in blue boxes comes from Moodle system automatically, and this is such information as student's name and surname, course name, of course, date of issue, and unique ID of micro-credential. The information in the red boxes have to be entered manually by teacher to Moodle course, and learning outcomes will be displayed in micro-credentials as well, because I already mentioned that the teachers has to enter these learning outcomes to Moodle system to the course. and then this all information will be displayed automatically in digital micro-credential. So this is a very brief presentation how to incorporate data from virtual learning environment, including transparent assessment in micro-credentials. So now I just want to show you one more time how to access to our training material. And so you can scan the QR code, and here you will find more detailed information about all this training material and our project. Thank you.
Thank you, Rimanté. Actually, we are speaking about micro-credentials, I don't know for how many years already, but now we have come to the moment on how to actually do that in your organization. And this is very hands-on, and therefore we have also prepared, despite besides the course that my colleagues have just presented, we have also prepared a rather concise guide on how to implement micro-credentials in higher education institutions. And I'm going now to share the slides of my colleague, Estela Dauksiene, who is apologizing for serious reasons. Just a second, I'm going to go to full screen, and yeah, this should be the guidelines. Okay, the guidelines for higher education institutions, how to implement transparent assessment of learning outcomes for online or blended learning leading to micro-credentials. And again, you see a QR code. You can scan, it goes to the same project site where we have the courses that we have shared and also the guideline. The point is that higher education institutions need to prepare following the model of digitally competent organizations to integrate micro-credentialing innovation as part of transparent assessment strategy for online learning. They have to implement micro-credentialing into institutional regulations to make it as institutional procedure. And the document or the guideline is aiming to provide guidance for higher education institutions in planning and implementing transparent assessment of learning outcomes, and also issuing digital micro-credentials. What is the target group of users for the guidelines? It's the management of universities, higher education institutions, probably the IT department, the academic and non-academic staff of higher education institutions who plan to implement assessment of learning outcomes and issue of digital micro-credentials. And in general, the success of introducing a micro-credential depends highly on university openness, which we believe is a precondition for introducing micro-credentials. And we understand university openness as the change in teacher attitude towards openness. Sometimes it's a long process. Sharing and using of online learning content created by others, sharing your content, using the content of others as well, and also embracing new modes of teaching and learning. Getting back to the structure of the guidelines, it's based on kind of 6 major steps that come from previous research projects that we have implemented before these stages, you may say so, they are research-based. Of course, we are not going that deep in this Erasmus partnership, but this system comes from research-based findings. Institution needs to start with strategic decisions to make a decision. Are we willing to implement micro-credentials? What are we going to do? How we are going to use the system? Need to identify transparent internal procedures, train academic and administrative staff so that they have the necessary competences, prepare digital credential metadata template. Every digital micro-credential needs to be backed up with metadata template. Otherwise, what are we talking about? It's not a digital micro-credential. Needs to prepare virtual learning environment. In many cases, it might be Moodle. In other institutions, other virtual learning environments. And update learning opportunity descriptions, or we may say course descriptions. Why are we using the term learning opportunity descriptions? Because micro-credentials can be issued not only for training courses, can be for practical work placements as well. So learning opportunity is a more general term. And now a little bit about each of those stages. Strategic decisions, or identifying the infrastructure. Most probably you might want to use the Europass, European Digital Credential Infrastructure, ECDI, or any European Union University Alliance infrastructure or institutional infrastructure if it's available, or any other digital micro-credential infrastructure if you have one. You need to agree and discuss within your institution about the involvement of stakeholders in the process and what to consider while choosing the infrastructure. The second stage or step is setting transparent internal procedures. Describe the process of issuing micro-credentials. Create internal procedures at your university for selected stakeholders. Who needs to do what and how all these procedures are interrelated. And of course, logically, we need staff development for that. Academic staff needs competence development, as teachers, lecturers, professors need to accordingly prepare their course descriptions and their virtual learning environment of their courses ready for micro-credentialization. Non-academic staff as well needs competence development so that they know the procedures and know how to support them. And of course, as we are dealing with these cutting-edge technologies, we need constant competence update following the technological developments and updates. The fourth stage step, you may say so, digital credential metadata. The need for and guidance in making institutional decisions from different parties. What data will be included in a micro-credential? How the selected data that will be included in a micro-credential is going to come or reach the micro-credential. We probably want to arrange things so that data comes more or less automatically from the sources that we choose and not are being, hand prepared. And also we need to make decisions on how your micro-credential will look like. I just made a picture of an example of a micro-credential that we experimented issuing at Vytautas Magnus University. Part 5 is preparation of virtual learning environment. As I have mentioned, in many cases, this will be preparation of Moodle environment, which would be the main source for learning achievement supporting data. And we need to check and adapt the virtual learning environment so that it is collecting and exporting the necessary data into the micro-credential. That is, we need certain entries in the Moodle course description or layout so that the data could be transported into the micro-credential. Have I lost number 6? What happens to my slides? Okay, I will come back to the big where I have the layout of all these stages. So we also need a description, the course description that needs to be in line with the requirements of the micro-credential metadata template that we have chosen, the entries in the virtual learning environment or in Moodle in most cases, and the course description has to be in line with that as well. So these are the 6 stages that are being discussed in the guideline that we have prepared in the project for higher education institutions. I'm now skipping through the slides to get back again to the last slide. And here you can see the link again to the project where you have the courses that we have been presenting, and also the guidelines. And also, if you are willing to give your feedback on the guidelines, you are welcome still to do that using the link, and you can use the code for that. So we hope that the materials that we have presented here are going to be useful to you, or you might incorporate parts of them for your institution or for your own research, and we will be happy if you do that. I was seeing some questions, very specific questions on the procedures on issuing the micro-credential. May I remind you that you, as I have mentioned at the beginning, you may access to personal mentorship through European Digital Education Hub, where you may ask for consultations on the issue of micro-credentials very specifically if you are willing so. Okay, we are within the promised time of 1 hour. We have already used the time. First of all, I want to ask my colleagues, maybe you are willing to share or add anything that we maybe missed. Airina, anything?
Yes, me too. I saw the questions and answers, so I agree with Elena, and I saw that the person already took the answer, took the question back, because this is a very specific Moodle specific question. But I also see that there is another participant with a hand raised, and maybe I would like to ask you to use the chat if possible, because due to multiple participation in these events, we I think disable microphone for speakers, if I am right here. So now I see the question about definition of micro-credential. Do we have the definition somewhere at hand to show in the slides? Show maybe Giedré or from Study Online or somewhere else, maybe we can access it. just very briefly to show the misunderstanding occurs in two types of definitions of micro-credential. We use the Council of Europe digital micro-credential definition, which means the credential, some digital, I cannot call it a document, but a collection of data that proves and validates information about learning process and learning outcomes and learning results and other details that are provided within digital metadata in this credential, and validates information about learning process and the learning outcome that the learner achieves or achieved. So this is, I know there was a different definition of this term for quite some time in the clouds, in the air of policy discussions and documents and many things. I do not want now to mention it to bring in confusion, because there were quite some variety of definitions. We had one interesting knowledge building activity with the participants from the European Commission, Employment and Social Affairs department, who also initiated the development of European digital infrastructure for micro-credentialization, as Elena mentioned, which is the lifelong learning actually platform in integrating Europass and competences achieved by individual learners through all over lifelong learning possibilities that may be submitted, and then with the CV, with the learning achievements, the person might have its profile in the system. So digital credentials in this case would add validated information e-sealed by education organizations or education providers about the achievements and about the learning process and about the quality assurance of learning services that are provided for each person. Did you manage, anybody could manage to find the definition that is more exact than I am describing? Maybe my colleagues are still searching for it, because I also need the reference to be found in my document somewhere or somewhere else. But for those of you who are interested, the mentioned knowledge building activity that took place in the European Digital Education Hub on September 12th also made the recording of this event. And if you are a member of the hub, of European Digital Education Hub, you can access this recording in knowledge building channel. I don't know if you
I'm trying just to find the
maybe Carlos could share the link to joining the European Digital Education Hub for those who are not yet accessing it, because that would be quite useful. I see quite a lot of questions on the value or accreditation of micro-credentials. We have to be honest, the discussion about the definition of micro-credentials in general in Europe is still open. In the European approach to micro-credentials, you still can see a lot of discussions. Different countries have different definitions or concepts. Nevertheless, there are certain prerequisites that we have to include in the concept of micro-credentials, and one of them is stackability. That is that they can be incorporated in as a building block into some degree program, for example. And I'm trying to answer the question that was somewhere in the chat on accreditation. And yes, I think micro-credentials can be used in vocational education and training as one of the reasons, or one of the reasons for the popularity of micro-credentials is also continuous professional development. That means that people who are in professional development, they may gain micro-credentials that one day can be accredited as part of the degree, and they can earn that degree on their own pace. The stakeholders, the employers is also a very important stakeholder, and micro-credentials is also one of the reasons that it helps to showcase a certain skill or achievement to employers a bit better maybe than say a fancy transcript of records of a degree study. And micro-credential allows showcasing your achievement in your CV. That's why this link with European CV, the European micro-credential infrastructure.
So Elena, there is another thing that is very, very tangible and a good question about the minimum or maximum hours or ECTS for micro-credential. I should mention actually, as Elena presented, that the learning opportunity, being it a course or a program, should be registered in one of the digital infrastructures that the institution chooses. So there's no point of registration very, very small learning units. So Agnes is asking very correctly about the minimum and maximum hours or ECTS for micro-credentials. It is the question that needs to be decided by the institution itself. In case of Vytautas Magnus University, we decided to use the minimum of 1 ECTS, but actually the programs that we registered in Europass digital infrastructure, and also had a link with the virtual learning environment within the higher education institution, were broader, up to they followed the 4-module structure, one module being of 4 credits. So 4 credits was the minimum of 1 module in the program, but we registered the whole program, and then you can issue for smaller learning units.
I see somebody sharing the definition from the European approach to micro-credentials. And of course, we have questions. Nevertheless, please note that the recording of this session and other sessions will be prepared a little bit and placed on EDEN Digital Learning Europe YouTube channel. And will be available there. Just give us a little bit of time to work a little bit on the recording, and later on it will be on EODLW YouTube channel. Just follow the channel so that you are not missing the new inputs on that. Unfortunately, respecting the time frame that we have promised, probably we are about to finish this webinar, seeing that the topic of micro-credential is still important, and we are going to continue covering it in the coming events, including the Eden annual conference in Graz. So please, if you have research in that, start preparing papers for the conference, and we are looking towards meeting you in different events in Eden. Thank you, presenters, colleagues, everybody. I wish you a nice afternoon today. And we are looking towards meeting you in other webinars of this week, tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
A nice afternoon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.